Introduction to Creating Mythological Beasts. In this world, exotic beasts run rampant. The sky is high, with the Great Yanlong Sparrow striking into the air. At the source of the Yangtze River, there is the dormant, immovable turtle, deep in the mountains and old forests, hiding the spirit of moving trees. In a barren land, there is also a Tai Sui, who sleeps forever. The humans in this heaven and earth are not only capable of guarding beasts, but also have creators, who can seize the creation of heaven and earth, imitate Dihua to create humans, create life, and fabricate mysterious beasts. Sui discovered that he could use mythological creatures as templates and rub divine beasts with his hands. Using Tao Tai as a template, create meaty unsatisfied toad, frugal and frugal. Using Kuei as a template, construct the life-killing thunder sound Kuei, which sounds like a mosquito and never disturbs the people. Using the mortal python as a template, shape the original and final snake, with a petite body shape that can be inserted and used immediately. Using the forest black goat as a template, create the demon mysterious mother, Fongrang fallen tree, Jiaoyue mirror spirit, and nurturing. The world black goat, which is pure and pure, with both virtue and artistry. And his opening still starts with a dog. Chapter 1. Crossing, high and hard gold fingers. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Great news, the strange phenomenon of Xiantang red tide has been successfully resolved. The initiator is the strange beast weeping blood shark girl, with the appearance of Dokue. The person in charge is Yan Shi, an 8th level dragon raising master, and the imperial envoy is the mysterious beast asking the heart ape. Creator Li Zhihui has released a new work called Lianshan Turtle. Although its appearance may seem like a mountain lord, it is an unprecedented divine beast in the Xia kingdom, filling another gap in the realm of divine beasts for our rabbit. It is reported that the highest-ranked divine beast in the Mysterious Beast Manual is the corrupt weaving destiny spider, with an appearance of great sage. Insert an urgent message. Mianyang Special Task Force reminds you that the alien beast, Mirror Demon, is constantly haunting. Recently, residents of Jiangqing should stay away from the mirror unless it is necessary. Especially ladies, please temporarily put away your love for beauty. Looking at the mirror improperly will bring tears to your loved ones. There was news outside the phone, and Sui crouched on the curb, lost in thought. In front of me are 2 electric poles, one with a small advertisement for wealthy women seeking their children at great cost, and the other with a small advertisement for wealthy women seeking their children at great cost. For a long time, he sighed and accepted reality, probably that he had indeed traveled through time. He also became younger, from old cured meat to fresh meat, and became a smart, brave, and strong high school student. 2 generations of people have vastly different life experiences, but the only similarity is that they share the traditional traits of Xia people. Poverty. To live a life of rebirth, can't we make some changes? Can't we replace my lifelong handsome with 1 or 2 small goals? Sui rubbed his hair, looking helpless. I'm really tired of living a life of, I have nothing but handsome. He is very tired and just wants to lie flat. In his previous life, Sui had a painful experience and decided to break away from the workplace CPU where, I just wanted to crush everyone, or be crushed by everyone, and bring his talent to the writing circle. In addition to being plagued by occupational diseases and an unsolved mystery of the world. The disappearing hairline, he also brought a considerable sum of money, with a start-up capital of 1,200 yuan. Sui thought to himself, these 12,000 should be enough to make him the 12 heavenly kings. Unexpectedly, I didn't even make it past midnight that night. He should have taken it slow, waited for the overdrawn to make up for it, and then rolled himself to death. But he wants to improve too much. The reason is that poverty makes people progress. Reading, scanning charts, coding, and not sacrificing day and night. For a moment, while conceptualizing the plot, Sui suddenly felt an explosion of inspiration, but soon realized that it was not inspiration that exploded. It was blood vessels. Then, there was no more. Forget it, let it be, let it be. Although the purse is cleaner than the face, it has become younger, and youth is priceless. Sui comforted himself, searched for his own memories, and his face gradually became solemn. This world is very different. In just 4 words, it can be summarized as the rampage of exotic beasts. This world is filled with a variety of strange beasts, and there are also various strange and bizarre phenomena brought by these beasts. For example, in news broadcasts, the mirror demon is accompanied by the illusion of no self in the mirror. When you look in the mirror, you find that the reflection in the mirror is not facing you, but facing away from you. At this point, if you can make a quick decision and stay away from the mirror, you can successfully escape. Otherwise, when the reflection in the mirror turns around and meets your 4 eyes, your pupils will reflect the phantom of the mirror demon, your soul will be drawn away, and your body will become an empty shell. In order to deal with foreign beasts, the profession of dragon hunter emerged early on among humans. In fact, it is a beast tamer who can guard relatively friendly foreign beasts and subdue them as ominous beasts. This is also known as mastering foreign skills to control foreign beasts. However, there is a serious shortage of dragon-feeding masters. One is that exotic beasts are unpredictable, and the more powerful they are, the harder it is to control them. Secondly, the more extraordinary the appearance of the exotic beast, the more its productivity cannot keep up with domestic demand, making it difficult to reproduce and pass down. Fortunately, the excavation of the cauldron for repairing the heavens has reversed this situation. With the help of the cauldron of mending the sky, humans have developed the method of creation, which can precipitate rules, like eating humans, to create a new species called the mysterious beast. Creators have emerged. Creator, obviously someone from this world. Su Yizheng sighed as his deceased memories suddenly attacked him, reminding him of more things. Wait a minute, it seems like I'm from the creator class. A dissuasion student. He was struck by lightning. Sui lit up her phone and quickly flipped through it with her fingers. Sure enough, I saw unfamiliar and familiar learning materials, such as, The Illustrated Beast, 5 years of hard study and 3 years of baldness, complete rules, from beginner to burial, and, The Creator Must Brush True Questions, You Will Die 3000. The naming of this world's reference book is really straightforward. Su Yi's head was lined with black lines. Next, he clicked on a video, which is the kind of small video with a single scene, simple characters, and compact plot. In the video, a middle-aged man with golden glasses is roaring at the top of his lungs. To become a creator, you only need to understand 3 things. Rules, or TMD's rules. Rules are referred to as rules, axioms, or authority by Westerners, while we Chinese people refer to them as Tao, law, or creation. They are called differently, but their essence is the same. Whether it is a natural exotic beast or an artificial mysterious beast, without exception, they are all forms of rule presentation. So, don't ask me, Hongfu whale is as big as a mountain, why can it float in the air? Don't ask me, 9 evil snakes have 9 heads, can they fight against each other? Also, don't ask me, Wusheng Tai Sui has 9 orifices on its body that are not even accessible, no mouth, and no excretory hole. How can it neither starve to death nor suffocate to death? That's all superficial, you have to see the essence through the surface, that is, the rules. Hongfu whale is the son of the wind, so it can sway above 90,000 and roam in the 6 harmonies. The 9 evil snakes can regenerate infinitely, as long as there is only 1 head left, they can return to their original state, which is the manifestation of the rules of life. The mythological giant beast of the Wusheng Tai Sui Hall is a reflection of the rule of life and death cycle, always between life and death. It is neither alive nor dead, but can actually be born. No, life and death never cease. Su Yi was stunned. He couldn't understand, but was greatly shocked. Although he has read less, it does not hinder him from extracting the central idea. There is a dead end to scientific creation, and mystical creation is the way. The materialization of the previous life was all learned in vain. Sui sighed and remembered the reason for being persuaded to leave. To be ashamed, there is no teacher who looks down upon others with a dog's eye, nor is there a classmate who despises poverty and loves wealth. Both the teacher and his classmates treat him well. Sui wants to shout, "Don't deceive young people who are poor," or "Heaven doesn't give birth to me, Su Aotian," but there is no imaginary enemy. Yu Dao is known for being poor in literature and rich in martial arts. Similarly, creators need not only talent, but also wealth. Because being a creator is the profession that requires the most practice, understanding the rules is far from enough to rely solely on far observation. It requires hands-on experience, ruthlessly playing, feeling the weight of exotic animal organs in the hand, and feeling the weaving of rules in the fingers. If in other industries, failure is the mother of success, while in the field of creation, failure is success. It takes a lot of practice, countless failures, countless trial and error to forge a creator. Sui has talent, otherwise he wouldn't be able to enter the creation class. But there is still a considerable gap between his talent and those truly talented individuals, at least not enough to bridge the huge gap brought about by the loss of his parents in his family. Some people are born in Rome, while others are born as mules and horses. Sui couldn't help but smile bitterly. However, persuading students to quit is not pleasant, but the ones eliminated by the creation class are not just one or two. Taking Mianyang Middle School where he studied as an example, there were 4 classes in the creation class in the first year of high school, only 2 classes left in the second year, and only 1 class left in the third year. Sui was at the first step of the long march, rising from first year of high school to second year of high school. It's summer vacation now. According to the rules, if he can personally fabricate a mysterious beast for the remaining half of the summer vacation, he can still stay. Sui faces a choice. Whether to accept fate, acknowledge the ordinary, accept fate and lie flat, or to strive for that slim chance on the front line. Fight. People die only because they face the sky, and they will not die for thousands of years. Sui patted his thigh. He doesn't even have the courage to make a move. What kind of traveler should he be? Although he really wanted to lie flat, he could still distinguish between lying down one after another and looking for the book garden www.zhaozuiyuan.com. Lying flat now, I'm afraid I'll have to choose between enduring hardship and eating dirt in the future. I can't lie flat yet. When I become a creator, I want Guyu to lie down, and I want the noble concubine to lie down. He took a deep breath and worked hard to flip through the bald book, The Illustrated Beast. Is this the 9 Evil Snakes? The encyclopedia is 3-dimensional, capable of rotation and movement. As the name suggests, the 9 evil snakes have their heads sticking out their cores, and their pupils shimmering with cold light, ready to pounce. This thing is a bit like. Sui narrowed his eyes slightly and fell into some kind of association. In the last life, in order to be a good trainee of the 12 heavenly kings, he accumulated a lot of writing materials, including myths all over the world, and even Cthulhu myths. To express their determination to burn their bridges, these are all placed in a folder called Sitting Alone Study. The multi-headed snake happens to be a common symbol in many myths. As he pondered, deep in his consciousness, suddenly a magnificent painting of mountains, rivers, and countries unfolded, with several images lighting up and breaking into pieces. Those images are also 3-dimensional, all multi-headed monster snakes, but their shapes and appearances are completely different, each displaying a ferocious appearance and emitting different rules and charms. Oh my goodness, are these all mythological creatures? Sui was shocked. He recognized it immediately. The few images are Shangliu in the Shanhai Jing, Xionghui in the Chu Ci Tian Wen, Jiuing in the Huainan Zi Ben Jing Sun, Hydra in Greek mythology, Ba Chi the snake in Shaori, and Naga, the 7-headed snake god of Cambodia. Is this my golden finger? Hey, it's tall and hard. Sui licked her lips, breathing a little quickly. Chapter 2. Divine Monsters Volume. You are listening at novelfull.audio. However, there are some deviations in the history and mythological system of this world. Although humans are quite different, they do not have these mythological creatures. This is not some kind of dragon-slaying skill. The silver wax spearhead is not useful, right? Sui murmured softly, closed his eyes, and focused on looking inside. Wait, is this the rule? After a while, he seemed to have realized something and blurted it out, feeling a tingling sensation on his scalp. Even when it comes to persuading students to quit, Sui's predecessor stayed in the creation class for a year. He had never eaten pork and had seen pigs playing happily, so he naturally had some understanding of the rules. Those few images were clearly mythological creatures from the previous world, but upon careful observation, he was able to read the rules and tricks. Shangliu has 9 heads, spitting miasma at the mouth, and his saliva is green. His body is shrouded in complex rules such as miasma, swamp, plague, and highly toxic. 9 infants are also 9 heads, but each head is different and has 9 attributes, namely wind, fire, soil, water, wood, light, darkness, and thunder. The male cobra still has 9 heads, but the 9 heads seem hollow and solid, looking ahead and suddenly appearing behind. That is not an illusion, but a remnant image generated by rapid movement, vaguely displaying the rules of speed and even time. The Hydra monster, Hedera, goes without saying that cutting off one and giving birth to 2 is obviously a rule of life, and it is a blooming life, more powerful than the 9 evil snakes that can only be easily reborn. On the body of the 8-branched snake, there is an implicit rule of gold and stone. It's not difficult to understand, after all, this guy's body contains the national treasure that has been living well since childhood, the famous Tiansong cloud sword, also known as the grass-shaving sword. The more Sui looked, the more frightened he became. Wait, isn't this the Shen Beast template? He thought of something, his heart pounding in his face showing ecstasy. The process of fabricating mysterious beasts, if described in words, is very simple. Using the cauldron of nourishing the heavens as the cauldron, add the primary spores and exotic animal organs, wait for the spores to grow, and devour the exotic animal organs to obtain the mysterious beast. Later on, the creator added an item called Emperor Flowing Syrup, which can accelerate the formation of mysterious beasts. Of course, this is like, how many steps do you take to pack an elephant in the refrigerator? It's easy to say, but difficult to do. The most difficult step is the first step, which is the preparation work in the early stage. The Shen Beast template. After understanding the rules, the creator can construct a regular creature in consciousness through visualization, deduction, and modeling based on their own understanding of the rules. This is the Shen Beast template. Then, place the original spores in the center of your forehead, and the spores will extract a small piece of your soul fragment. At the same time, they will also read the mysterious beast template in your consciousness. Next, in the cauldron of mending the heavens, the primordial spores use this soul fragment as the true spirit, devour the flesh and blood of exotic beasts, draw the imperial fluid, and grow according to the template, becoming a mysterious beast. Of course, the prerequisite for everything to go smoothly is that your soul level is sufficient, and the rules of the Shen Beast template are complete and logically consistent. Otherwise, what ultimately grows out is just an indescribable twisted lump of flesh. From the perspective of big data, flawless mysterious beast templates are really rare. Even top craftsmen have a success rate of only 70% in their hands. As for apprentices like Sui, every creation is like opening a blind box, and the success rate is not impressive. So, the statement that failure is success for his grandparents is not only not exaggerated, but also somewhat conservative. What's even more troublesome is that the primordial spores, exotic animal organs, and emperor's fluid are all valuable, and the speed of emptying your wallet is faster than those 3-sentence green teas. As he pondered, the images and shadows in his consciousness dimmed, returning to that magnificent painting. The painting rolled up, leaving no trace in the dream. In the moment of complete disappearance, Sui vaguely saw 4 words in one corner. The Divine Monster Volume. A vast collection of gods and monsters. This is an endless template for divine beasts. Sui's lips curled up, his eyes lit up. Then we can't take off. Not qualified, it's the 3rd time. Xia Jingxing had a stern face and left a glaring red cross on his transcript. In the left square of the red cross, there were already 2 red crosses from the same school. 3 opportunities have been exhausted. Wang Xiang, you have been eliminated. Upon hearing these words, the high school student in front of him turned pale with a hint of crying in his voice, pleading, "Teacher, can you give me another chance? Next time, I will definitely." Xia Jingxing just shook his head and spoke in a gentle tone, but said, "Go home and study hard. The teacher believes that with your intelligence, even if you are not a creator, you can still stand out." Watching the soulless figure disappear, his face didn't look very good either. Xia Jingxing suddenly turned back and frowned coldly. "What are you looking at? You're not focused on practicing yet. Tomorrow we'll go to the Tongyu Trail, one by one, still working hard here to live a long life. This is the worst one I've ever led." The students kept silent, and many people roast in their hearts. Isn't King Xia the uncle? The world is so beautiful, but he is extra irritable. Xia Jingxing is indeed in a bad mood. As the homeroom teacher of Creation Class 2, during this period of time, watching one face after another turn from complacency to ashes, and having to face coldly to eliminate the other person, this feeling is certainly not pleasant. But Xia Jingxing is clear that he must harden his heart and not leave any hope for the other party. Because at this age, young people have never been subjected to social abuse, and everyone feels like they are the chosen one. Even if they fail, they feel like they can fight back. As long as they leave a glimmer of hope for the other person, they will never give up. And in that way, what is wasted is their precious youth. Xia Jingxing sighed silently. "Teacher, I'll test it." A familiar voice sounded. "Oh, it's Sui." Xia Jingxing's tone was quite friendly, but he was frowning slightly. Actually, he has a good impression of Sui. In addition to his youthful beauty, the young man had a natural talent for creation and a good attitude towards learning, but unfortunately, his family conditions constrained him. Looking at the equally ambitious face in front of him, Xia Jingxing thought for a moment and decided to have a frank conversation with him. "Sui, do you want to hear the advice of this experienced teacher?" His tone was calm, pretending to be casual. Sui was taken aback and nodded, saying, "Teacher, what do you say? Even if you can create something successfully, I don't recommend you continuing this path," Xia Jingxing said seriously. "Why?" Sui was stunned again. Primitive spores, imperial sap, and exotic animal organs are all valuable. Moreover, the higher the quality of the mysterious beast, the more expensive the materials needed. Xia Jingxing couldn't help but shake his head and said bitterly, "In other words, creating a craft requires a massive investment. The further you go, the more financial you will be, and you." He sighed and said, "At my age, you will understand that looking up at the stars is not only important, but more importantly, it is to be down to earth. Especially for children like you who have no way out, when making choices, you need to be particularly cautious." Sui suddenly realized and his mood was complicated. He could see that the homeroom teacher, who was serious about his words and smiles, was sincerely planning for him and had no selfish intentions. If there were no divine and monster volumes falling from the sky, Sui might have agreed, but now. "I have heard that the greatest regret in life is not, I cannot, but I could have, ... He looked up and said to Xia Jingxing with emotion, "Old class, I don't want such a regret. I could have." Xia Jingxing sighed as he was touched by the words. Indeed, under the guise of, for your own good, and attempting to control someone else's life, will there really be good results? Sui took advantage of the heat and said, "People lying in the mud actually want to look up at the stars. Xia Jingxing was deeply moved. Even if I were a toad, I would only be willing to cut myself and dare to pull the swan off the horse, Sui exclaimed passionately. Xia Jingxing, who was still somewhat moved, stiffened at the words. At first, it was quite touching. Why did the art style deviate when I said it? Well said, speak with small words and big meaning, enlighten the deaf. The boy sitting in the first row stood up and applauded the table. Xia Jingxing's mouth twitched. Forgive him for his lack of talent and knowledge, and he couldn't really hear it. Where is the meaning behind these subtle words? Where is the deafening point? But Sui glanced at the young man and a slight smile appeared at the corner of his mouth. Chapter 3. Creation. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Yan Zhao, the ultimate figure of the mysterious species of other people's children, has good grades and is a key player in the basketball school team. He also plays the piano well and develops comprehensively in morality, intelligence, physical fitness, and aesthetics. Every semester, he receives a whole drawer of love letters. Sui is not good anymore. Apart from being handsome and without any distinctive features, he only receives 3 times as many love letters as Yan Zhao every semester. Cough cough, let's not mention anything unimportant. Yan Zhao still has one important identity, and he is a good brother who Sui played big with his bare buttocks. At critical moments, the only one who can stand up is indeed a good brother. First, let's see if the remaining exotic animal organs can meet your requirements. Xia Jingxing didn't notice their small expressions and pointed to one side of the classroom. The area of the creation class is much larger than that of an ordinary class, almost equivalent to a small sports hall, and it is specifically divided into teaching area, creation area, and battle area, with all 5 organs in place. Yes, Sui nodded and strode forward. The creation area is lined with giant freezers, and as he strolls through it, he can see rows of displayed exotic animal organs, only scattered in the east and west, with many missing ones. You didn't come at the right time, Xia Jingxing patiently explained as she followed Suyi's side. In recent days, many people have come for assessment, consuming a lot of materials. The next batch of supplements will only arrive over the weekend. Of course, if the materials don't meet your needs, you can come back for assessment next week. Let me take a look first, Sui understood, but was not in a hurry to reply. He doesn't want to wait until next week. Because tomorrow, the creation team will go to the secluded path in the cave, which is an excellent opportunity for exercise. If we miss this opportunity, we don't know how long we will have to wait. Then we can only simplify things based on the basics. Sui curved his lips. Fortunately, I have enough inventory in my mind. He didn't panic or rush, first took a spin and carefully reviewed all the materials. Unsatisfied wolves, cunning foxes, blocking jackals, fire hyenas. Suyi's eyes flickered as he pondered. There is plenty of dog materials available, so you can choose a dog template. In my mind, a vast collection of gods and monsters unfolded. In Chinese mythology, there are countless examples such as the 9-eared dog in the New Language, the Pan Hu in the Search for Gods, the roaring heavenly dog under the Erlang God seat, the divine mastiff Dai Li in the Maishan 7 monsters, the Lu golden dog and Kue Mu Lang in the 28 constellations, and the heavenly dog that eats the moon. In Nordic mythology, there are Gam, the watchdog of the underworld, and Fenrir, the demon wolf. In Greek mythology, there are also 2-headed dogs, the Waltros and the Cerberus. In addition, there are also the dog god in the Little Day mythology, the dog demon in the Rotten Country legend, and so on. Suyi's expression changed. In the voluminous, there is even the hunting dog of Tindalos, in the myth of Cthulhu. This vast collection of gods and monsters is highly likely due to the mastery of the book alone in the study. Well behaved, how much inventory do you need? Sui suppressed his surprise, his face showing no signs of fluctuation. Fortunately, I didn't choose to have a phobia. With so many options, it's natural to choose slowly. Sui pondered and made a choice. Eliminate all of the above. He has also been carefully considered. After all, as a person of 2 generations, even without the online guidance of a portable grandfather, Sui still had a clear mind and had an AC score in his heart when it came to weighing a few pounds of himself. The above templates, except for the 9-eared dog and water rose, are all fighter jets from the divine beasts, with extraordinary appearance and obscure rules, far beyond his reach at this level. One thing is that Sui's soul level is not enough. Secondly, the level and types of exotic animal organs are far from enough. Another point, which is also the most limiting factor for him, is his own accumulation. Sui did not fully understand the rules represented by the various figures and shadows in the volume of gods and monsters, and did not know the reasons behind them. He had not yet been able to truly translate them into his own use. The original spores cannot be directly picked up from the volume of gods and monsters. They need to be translated into Chinese by someone before constructing their own Xianbeast template. In this way, painting a tiger without turning it into a dog-like creature is good, and if one has high ambitions but low skills, they may even be defeated. Eating food one by one, walking step by step on the road, taking big steps can easily lead to pulling eggs. Sui calmly made a decision and chose a slightly inferior and more suitable divine beast for transition. He searched his heart and soul, and after a few turns of his eyes, he had a clear idea. Teacher Xia, I have a good view. There are enough materials available. Sui turned his head and nodded again. We can continue. Xia Jingxing stopped talking nonsense and made a gesture. Please start your performance. Sui nodded and pushed the cart through the organ jungle, occasionally pulling out a piece of exotic animal organ. Xia Jingxing quietly retreated to one side, watching from the wall. He knew that being around would bring pressure to the students, and not disturbing him was his last tenderness. However, this does not prevent Xia Jingxing from harboring rumors in his heart. The mane of a fiery hyena, the teeth of an unsatisfied wolf, the eyeballs of a mischievous black cat, the tongue of a mourning crow, and the plaque of bad luck. What are these configurations? He couldn't help but frown, his face unhappy. Does this kid usually not listen to classes? He has said it 10,000 times, and beginners should prioritize the elemental series. The elemental system refers to basic attributes such as soil, wind, water, fire, thunder, and darkness. The reason is not difficult to understand, as the rules of element systems are often straightforward and powerful, making them a must-have for newcomers to learn while traveling from home. This kid is usually very calm, but at this critical moment, he becomes ambitious. Xia Jingxing hated iron for not becoming steel, but according to the rules, he couldn't remind him, and secretly felt frustrated. Not long after, Sui selected the materials well. Once the materials are ready, we can proceed to the next step. He looked up at the end of the creation area, where a metal giant towered like a cauldron in a furnace, covered in cloud-patterned ink. The rules of creation were written on it, and the path of reincarnation shrouded in it, making it the cauldron of mending the heavens. On the side of the cauldron of mending the sky, there is a refrigerated cabinet for primordial spores and emperor's fluid. These two things are worth a lot at first glance. The primary spore is a seed of life, a living organism that resembles a sarcoma and has a mottled and uneven appearance. Even when lying in a refrigerator, it still beats slowly, alternating between dilation and contraction. Emperor Lujiang is a pale blue liquid, with countless light spots floating in it, like a vast river of stars, shining brilliantly and breathtaking. However, the precious imperial juice is actually packed in a coconut tree box. Yes, it is the coconut tree that has been drinking from childhood to adulthood. Hey, speaking of it, it's quite fitting. Noting Su Yi's doubts, Xia Jingxing's blush and explained. The emperor's slurry container is damaged. Don't worry, just change the container, which will have no impact on the actual effect. Sui nodded, not being affected, and walked forward, selecting the largest and most plump primary spore, but did not directly place it in the center of his forehead, but closed his eyes and pondered. In my mind, the vast expanse of gods and monsters unfolded, and a black demon wolf emerged from a broken painting, with its mane flying and its karmic fire entwined around it. There was also the howling of wolves to suppress the clouds, with a ferocious and majestic aura. He immersed himself in contemplation. Sui held his breath and made adjustments to this image based on his own understanding of the rules, coupled with his insights into 2 generations, and the limitations of existing materials. To be frank, his predecessor studied hard and accumulated some knowledge in the field of rules. Perhaps the only difference was a last-minute step. Of course, even so, Sui's technical adjustments still made the Tao, represented by the demon wolf, plummet like a poor painter copying famous paintings. They all paint tigers from cats, but I paint cats from tigers, he laughed and cried, teasing himself. Xia Jingxing stood by, patiently waiting without urging. Half an hour later, the new version of the mysterious beast template for the ship was finally launched. Sui gazed inwardly, looking somewhat embarrassed. He had a strange feeling similar to that of a curvaceous beauty or bull chewing peonies, which was quite satisfactory. But he was really hollowed out, not a drop left. Sui nodded and placed the primary spores in the center of her eyebrows. He took a deep breath. At first, there was a piercing pain in the forehead, followed by a sharp pain that tore off a piece of the soul, piercing the bone marrow. The original spore has successfully read the template and torn off a piece of soul as a toll for its own true spirit. Ha! At the same time, Xia Jingxing let out a light sigh. He vaguely saw a red and black light shining on the primordial spore, and countless mysterious runes flickering and disappearing without a trace. As the homeroom teacher who practiced for 2.5 years, Xia Jingxing had experienced it before and naturally knew that some powerful mysterious beast templates could even cause mutations in the original spores, forming various anomalies. But none of them are top-notch mysterious beast templates. A high school freshman, impossible, absolutely impossible. Xia Jingxing couldn't help shaking his head and secretly mocking himself, I must be angry and confused. With these restless students, I'm already getting angry at a young age. Sui's eyes were bright and bright, as if facing a great enemy. Next is the moment to witness miracles. Creation, start. Chapter 4. Disaster Dog. You are listening at novelfull.audio. This final step is actually simple. As the old saying goes, the focus of creation is on the stage, on the preparation work, that is, the mysterious beast template. The process of creation is actually more like testing results. The lid of the cauldron that mends the sky is opened, and the cloud-patterned ink gradually illuminates, entwined with flowing light. There is a divine atmosphere that sprays out, and the path of life gathers and disperses. Even the faint sound of songs and verses can be heard, which is a tribute to life and reincarnation. Whether it's successful or not depends on the last tremble. Sui took a deep breath and strictly followed the process. First, he put in the organs of the exotic animals, followed by the primary spores. Finally, he carefully picked up the coconut tree box with a large capacity and poured the imperial juice into it in 3 parts. At the moment of contact with the emperor's fluid, the original spores seemed to wake up with a sudden increase in pulsation frequency, and flesh buds were dug out from them. The granulation buds are like tendrils, spreading in all directions. Once they touch the organs of a foreign animal, they wrap layer by layer and quickly pull back. In the blink of an eye, the eyeballs of the evil black cat and the teeth of the unsatisfied wolf turned into bloated flesh cocoons, which were engulfed by the spores in the center. The pulsation of the spores became slow, but increasingly elongated, brewing something. It was the tranquility before the storm. Bang! Like a silent explosion, countless threads burst open, disorderly and orderly, outlining bones and weaving flesh and blood. It seems like it's done. Well, currently it seems that the rules are very stable, said one person holding onto his black framed glasses. Don't be a toxic milk, deputy squad leader. Last time, you said that the Chinese national football team had made steady progress. A group of classmates gathered around, each with great interest and whispering. Although it is natural for Chinese people to watch the excitement, it is not, at least not entirely here. The school always encourages students to observe creation from the sidelines, because success or failure is an experience that is equally beneficial for students to understand the rules. The more people looked, the more immersed they became, and their voices gradually decreased. After another 15 minutes, Yan and Zhao couldn't conceal their joy and clenched their fists, saying, "Formed, formed." In the center of the cauldron of mending the sky, the ball of flesh clearly had a biological prototype, with skin covering in many sprouting. The mysterious beast curled up in a ball, resembling a wolf or a dog. Its whole body was pitch black like ink, but there were blood flame patterns extending from the back of its neck along its spine until it reached the tip of its tail. Its tail is not just one, but a canopy, swaying like flames rolling and imposing. In the deep darkness, 2 layers of red gold suddenly shone, striking a pair of red eyes and golden pupils. Despite being a newborn mysterious beast, its gaze seemed to capture the soul and penetrate the mysteries. Many young people felt their scalp tingling, and the onlookers retreated, exclaiming in surprise. An extraordinary son must be born differently, Jiang Ruoshi thought thoughtfully. She was the class monitor and the number 1 in the class all year round. This mysterious beast looks extraordinary. I'm afraid it's just external strength but internal strength, Li Gingsheng muttered in a low voice. He is the second best student in the class, with outstanding grades, but due to the presence of a young girl, he can only be ranked second in 10,000 years, so he always harbors deep resentment like a resentful wife in a deep boudoir. Xia Jingxing remained silent and showed surprise on his face. Among the mysterious beasts, there is actually an unwritten rule that, in short, looks are strength. The more mysterious beasts are born with different forms, the more amazing their potential is, and the upper limit is even higher. Even the mysterious beast with outstanding potential and above the level of Mountain Lord has a chance to attract celestial anomalies and produce various bizarre illusions when it is born, and is called Xingjing. The mysterious beast in front of me is clearly not a good type. Su Yi slowly closed his eyes. The true spirit of this mysterious beast comes from his soul fragment, so at the moment of its birth, it immediately formed a connection with Su Yi. In China, it is called spiritual rhinoceros in the heart, while in childhood, it is called binding. Disaster dog. A dog of disaster, born in disaster, born in 1,000 tribulations, with golden pupils to peep at the heavens and sharp claws to manipulate misfortune. Appearance. Ground only in the middle position. Accompanying abilities. Misfortune never goes alone. Misfortune never goes alone, and a dog can split into 2, creating a clone that is completely consistent with its own attributes, eating fire. Evil dogs feed on fire and enjoy chasing fires. They are highly immune to fire injuries and can also consume fire to restore their physical strength and repair themselves, bad omen. The dog of misfortune is the son of misfortune. Its golden pupils peer into the river of fate and can predict danger in advance. Playing with its claws on the strings of misfortune can bring misfortune to the enemy. From birth, he was only in the middle position of the earth, and there were 3 accompanying abilities. Su Yi was startled. Generally speaking, the mysterious beasts created by beginners can comfort themselves with 1 companion ability, 2 are considered excellent, and 3 are rare. Disaster dogs have 3 companion abilities, each of which is both powerful and practical, making them extraordinary. Su Yi's expression was complex. Apart from joy, there is also pain and entanglement. He clearly saw that the 3rd companion ability of the disaster dog, originally named Infinite Calamity, later degenerated into War, later degenerated into Culprit, and finally, reluctantly turned into a Bad Omen. Obviously, it is their own template that lacks the heat, materials that lack the grade, and is not enough to withstand such powerful companion abilities. Think one more step deeper, who said that misfortune never comes singly means it has to be paired up. It is very likely that the initial ability is 1.6, or even 1.9. Banana, you ballet, why did you show me the original appearance? Sui gritted his teeth silently. Intentional, it must be intentional. Picking up 100 on the road is a simple and pure joy, but when you walk and pick up 500 and lose 400, it's not happiness anymore, but the kind of pain that breaks through your heart. The prototype of this disaster dog is a disaster beast recorded in the Shanhai Jing, Yuanhua Ji, and other books, and it is also a fire-eating beast. Disaster fighting. The fate of Suyi's 2 lives was that in the previous life, he was born ordinary, but died suffocated. In this life, he lost his parents in childhood, and his life was full of ups and downs. Therefore, he had a lot of insights into the impermanence of life, and the unity of heaven and earth, and the lack of freedom in transporting heroes, which gave rise to this dog of misfortune. Whoosh in the cauldron of mending the sky, at the book garden www.zhaoshuyuan.com, a black lightning bolt rose up lightly and landed on Suyi's shoulder in a dangerous manner. The tail relaxed in an orderly manner like a flower, and a pair of red eyes and golden pupils looked around with vigilance. Is this the Xian beast? Su Iroha pondered. He can clearly feel the various emotions conveyed by the disaster dog, as well as the dog's closeness and dependence on himself. Having both a sharp and independent mind, the little one is like some kind of clone of Sui. This feeling is both mysterious and indescribable. What's the little one's name? Yan Zhao's eyes lit up and he was eager to try. Do you want to take 2 moves and familiarize yourself with the accompanying abilities? My lantern fox has been starving for a long time. On his right shoulder, perched a equally divine snow-white fox. The names of Xian beasts are all real names, as described by the heavenly Tao, so they have never been given the wrong names. The burning lamp fox, as its name suggests, has a long wick as its tail, burning with a blue flame. As its tail swings, it diffuses a faint sense of zen and exudes a chilly air. Suyi's eyes flickered, and he immediately remembered that the burning lamp fox only had one companion ability called the green lantern. This ability is quite powerful. The flame of the blue lamp is the coldest fire, the flame can freeze all corners, and the flame light can freeze the supernatural powers of other creatures. However, this has limited effect on dogs in distress. The strong desire emanating from the dog's body made Sui know that the flame of the blue lamp may only become its snack. Forget it, are there any other opponents? Sui shook his head and ignored his good brother. My disaster dog has attribute restraint against your lantern fox. Even if he wins, he won't be strong. Why don't you give it a try with me? Li Gingsheng came out with a free hand and elegant style. Let me tell you what the world's unevenness is. Chapter 5. First Battle. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. Suyi's mouth twitched. He also remembered Li Gingsheng, whose personality had not changed at all. Li Gingsheng's personality, in short, consists of 5 words. Pretending to be a criminal. Actually, they are all high school students, who doesn't know who. Everyone is not reckless, wasting their youth's age. Everyone is a potential disguiser. However, everyone has a student ID, and even if they want to pretend, they have to rack their brains and work hard to achieve it. They try to pretend casually, and silently. After finally pretending once, the expression of nothing and sprinkling water was revealed, only secretly delighted in my heart. But in every class, there will always be such a guy who believes in a gentleman's honest egg and wise people don't pretend to be dark. Whenever he seizes an opportunity, he must pretend to be bold and eye-catching. Li Gingsheng is such a guy. A sharp pain hit her shoulder, and Sui suddenly woke up. She saw the dog's mane explode, its claws pop out, and a pair of golden pupils glaring fiercely below, ready to pounce. Following the gaze of the dog, Li Gingsheng's shadow suddenly opened his eyes, with a pair of emerald-green vertical pupils staring at the dog in sharp opposition. Sweeping Shadow Python. 3 words came to mind, and at the same time, countless messages were also generated in Su Yi's mind. The top 3 mysterious beasts have all been carefully studied in their predecessors. Of course, it's not for the sake of battle, it's purely to emulate excellent classmates. After all, they all say that the power of role models is infinite. 2 accompanying abilities. Su Yi chewed on the information, secretly becoming wary. Moreover, the abilities are also quite powerful. In Fu. Shadow pythons can hide in shadows, transforming from tangible to intangible, hiding their bodies and movements. When it evades the shadow, its movement speed increases significantly and it is almost immune to most physical damage except for light, darkness, fire, and thunder attributes. Projection. The shadow python spits out shadows and breath, which can strip away flesh and erode vitality. Breathing is more effective in directly affecting shadows. When invading enemy shadows, it ignores any defense and doubles its damage. It can only be said that this guy is a bit crazy, but he has crazy capital. Su Yi, work with him, I'll keep an eye on you. As the 2 mysterious beasts drew their swords and crossbows, the black-framed glasses brother arrived with a second wave of poisonous milk. His name is Su Zishuan, and he is the deputy class monitor. Although he pretends to be a cultured scumbag with black-framed glasses on weekdays, after getting along for a long time, he knows that being cultured is fake, and scumbags are real scumbags. After his instigation, the other classmates also started to cheer up. That's right, Li Gingsheng is just a paper tiger, he's not good for anything. Su Yi, that's him. Our generation of high school students, why bother to fight? Su Yi pursed his lips, but he knew it well. Although these stinky kids may not like Li Gingsheng's usual arrogance, their mentality is probably more. Those who watch funerals do not mind the scale of the funeral. What kind of coaxing is this? Xia Jingxing snorted coldly and activated his professional skills. What's the ability to instigate others? You really have the ability to challenge Li Gingsheng on your own. His gaze swept over, and the young men's eggplants, beaten like frost, all wilted one by one. Suyi, your assessment has been passed. Xia Jingxing ticked off the list, and from the beginning, he didn't take gambling seriously. Your disaster dog should be in the lower position of the earth only, right? The shadow python is in the middle position of the earth only, with a rank difference from you. Honk your disaster dog well, and as for battles, there will never be fewer opportunities in the future. Middle position, Su Yi suddenly said. Xia Jingxing hesitated for a moment, still feeling a bit unresponsive. What? My unlucky dog was born in the middle position of the earth. Su Yi smiled with a harmless expression on his face. Teacher, I think it's possible to fight it, which will also help me familiarize myself with its companion abilities. Li Gingsheng, a disguiser, I am your servant. He teased in his heart. Of course, the real reason is that Su Yi's hands and heart are itchy, and he wants to try the abilities of the disaster dog. The most important thing is, you don't lose, you earn blood by winning, why not fight? To the theater of war. The theater of war is not the kind of flat and orderly arena, with uneven ground and piles of stone rockeries piled up from east to west to simulate complex landforms. The stone shadows are heavy, and the skimming python is like a fish in water. It swims in the shadows, occasionally revealing its winding snake spine, and suddenly leaps into another shadow. For the shadow python, the mottled shadows on the ground seem like deep pools dotted with stars, effortlessly moving back and forth. Is this the shadow rule? Su Yi observed carefully and gained some understanding. The disaster dog stands on a huge rock, towering over it, with its tail spreading out in a secluded manner, and its golden pupils scanning the entire scene. "Class teacher, do you think who will win?" Jiang Ruoshi whispered in the audience. "Winning or losing is just the result, not the goal. The most important thing is that the two can grow from the battle." Xia Jingxing first came up with a set of official statements that are not leak-proof, but in the end, he still revealed his foxtail. Creators prioritize accumulation, and those who accumulate more have a higher chance of winning. He certainly has a higher opinion of Li Gingsheng. Li Gingsheng's personality is a bit flamboyant, but his capital is not bad. He needs to have talent and money, and he needs to work hard and have money. With the crazy burning of money at home, as long as he can't burn to death, he really can't reach the accumulation of other students in class 2. Of course, except for Jiang Ruoshi, who has an unfathomable family background in front of her. Xia Jingxing sighed inwardly. It can only be said that creation is really a game for wealthy people, otherwise how could he still be just a homeroom teacher now? But I feel. Jiang Ruoshi's eyes flickered as she pondered. She was interrupted by screams before finishing her sentence. "Oh, what is that?" Wu the disaster dog roared and groaned, and one after another, flesh tumors appeared on the neck, shoulder blades, hind legs, and other areas, expanding wildly and getting bigger. In just an instant, the sarcoma on the side of the neck grew into eyes, teeth, and ears, with black bristles everywhere, resembling another head. And other sarcomas continue to grow and differentiate into limbs, tails, and other objects. Tear and pull the sound of flesh and blood tearing echoed, and in the next moment, a new disaster dog emerged from its body, accompanied by splashes of black blood and pale yellow tissue fluid, leaping high and landing on another landscape stone. The clone system. Jiang Ruoshi covered her mouth. Xia Jingxing is even more unbelievable. This is unreasonable. The clone is the most ordinary but also the most profound and powerful rule. For example, the mythical giant beast that resides in the heavenly palace, the Dian dragon sparrow, is accompanied by the ability Dian's number, which is described as a very simple but incredibly powerful ability. 49 clones. Therefore, in order to face this mythical beast head-on, one must be prepared for both solo and group fights, that is, solo means you fight one against our group, and group fights means we fight one against you. A mysterious beast on the ground can actually be separated. What are its core rules? Xia Jingxing was full of doubts, but at this time, he couldn't let Su Yi be distracted. Looking for Shuyuan www.zhaoshuyuan.com, he could only scratch his heart and silently resist everything. Buzzing there is a whistling explosion. A winding black shadow swept up from the ground, as if thunder had started on a flat ground, surpassing lightning and attacking the clone of the disaster dog. The clone of the disaster dog stood unsteadily, but leaped up with a light and agile movement, elegant demeanor, and narrowly avoided the sudden attack from the ground. The black shadow falls, completely submerged in the shadow, leaving no ripples. The Yin Fu of the shadow python is indeed nowhere to be found. What about clones? In the face of absolute strength, all crooked ways are fleeting. Li Gingsheng said without mercy, while his heart murmured. In addition to its literal effect, Yin Fu actually has another hidden characteristic, which is its concealment. When the shadow python lurks in the shadows to launch an attack, it has no front position and is completely defenseless. This is the truly terrifying aspect of Yin Fu. But the unlucky dog avoided it, even in an unstable situation, as if it had anticipated this sudden attack. Coincidentally. Or. Li Gingsheng analyzed in his heart and ordered the shadow python to attack again. Whoosh, the howling sound was incessant, and the shadow python launched a series of fierce attacks, repeatedly coming from the shadows and disappearing into them. It was like a sudden cold arrow from the dark, not only fast, but also cunning and poisonous. But whether it is the master or the clone, the disaster dog can instantly avoid and handle it with ease. Similarly, Su Yi remained calm and his expression was so indifferent that he didn't look like a beginner at all. What's going on? Is it a companion ability? Li Gingsheng frowned, uncertain, and even felt that the disaster dog was more like a snake than his own shadow python, more slippery and without leaving any hands. Xia Jingxing was observing intently, but seemed to glimpse some kind of way. His voice was dry and he said, "Is it related to destiny?" Chapter 6. Dihua's Class Teacher. You are listening at novelfull.audio. What? Jiang Ruoxi's beautiful eyes widened and her body shook. Upon Xia Jingxing's reminder, she also suddenly realized that the reason why disaster dogs can avoid ambushes is not because they are fast, but because they are predicting and some kind of foresight. The numerology system. Yan Zhao was both surprised and delighted upon hearing this. He is no stranger either. The hottest news recently is that the creator Li Zhihui diligently studied the Book of Changes and fabricated the mysterious beast, Lianshan Turtle. Although the appearance of the Mountain Lord was somewhat shabby, it achieved a breakthrough in the numerology system of the Xia Kingdom. Everyone knows that going from 0 to 1 is as difficult as reaching the heavens, but once you have experience, it will be much easier to create 2, 2, 3, and all things. But it's not that easy, is it? Su Yi is just a beginner, and this is also his first mysterious beast. Jiang Ruoxi looked incredulous. Is the first mysterious beast a rare numerology system in the world? The disaster dog once again leaped high, but this time, the shadow python did not launch a surprise attack. However, seasoned like a summer scenery, he immediately lowers his head and gazes at the shadows on the ground with fiery eyes. On the ground, black lines crisscrossing like a surging pack of snakes, meandering and rushing towards the shadow of the rockery where the dog had just set foot. The black line silently brushed against the shadow of the rockery, causing it to shatter. However, the rockery followed the shadow and split into pieces, collapsing in an instant and overflowing with smoke and dust. Humph, you're quite clever. Seeing that shooting was not effective, Li Gingsheng let out a soft snort and his face showed fear. Jiang Ruoxi finally confirmed that the avoidance of the disaster dog did indeed come from some kind of foresight, and her expression was complicated. It's really. As a homeroom teacher, Xia Jingxing is analyzing. If one can truly predict the actions of the shadow python, they should adapt to the situation and respond accordingly when the python launches a surprise attack and leaves the shadow. However, the evil dog can only avoid it, which indicates that its prediction still has limitations. He didn't guess wrong. The ominous omen of a dog can predict danger in advance, but it is not clear about the specific form of danger, so it can only avoid danger by moving over a large area. To use the myth of the wilderness as an example, the ability of a disaster dog can be impulsive, but it cannot be calculated by pinching fingers. Although it has limitations, it precisely suppresses the shadow python. The danger prediction of ominous omen is that if encountering a Mangfu-type mysterious beast with a close face output, even if one can occasionally glimpse the hem of the Fate Fairy's skirt, it is difficult to react in a timely manner. It's easy to deal with Voldemort like the shadow python. In a nutshell, omen governs old silver coin and Voldemort. Its attribute restraint again. If I had known earlier, I should have directly challenged the squad leader. Su Yi's face was like a calm lake, quietly experiencing the battle process with some regret. He had a common understanding with the disaster dog, and could clearly feel that the two dogs were not powerless to fight back, but rather playing tricks on each other like cats and mice, enjoying the battle. And soon, they got tired of playing. The mischievous dog lifted its paws and played with something in the void, its movements resembling caressing a harp, calm and even exuding some composure and elegance. Crackle with a crisp sound, the searchlight in one corner of the room hung down, as if it had been out of repair for a long time, and the bracket was broken. Coincidentally, as the searchlight lowered its head, the light shone directly on the shadow where the shadow python was located. The shadow dissipated and the entire shadow python was bounced out. The vertical pupils of the shadow python showed a humanized sense of panic, and it wanted to escape, meandering and swimming at an extremely fast speed towards another artificial mountain shadow. At this point, the disaster dog master remained calm and composed, making the same, plucking the strings, action. Just as the shadow python was about to return to its shadow, a rock that was already shaky due to battle rolled down from the rockery, accurately hitting the python's forehead. Bang! The shadow python launched a series of sudden attacks, already exhausted and blinded by the lights, unable to dodge. It was hit by a falling rock and immediately fainted on the spot, remaining motionless. Ah! Li Gingsheng was stunned, lost in a dream. He completely doesn't understand how he lost. There's no battle without a helmet. Sui smiled and joked softly. The scene fell silent for a moment. The students had different expressions, one after another hesitating to speak, wanting to say something, but not knowing how to describe the battle. Li Gingsheng was defeated, and although they were secretly pleased, Sui's victory seemed to be entirely due to luck, as if the ancient saying of pretending to be beaten by lightning had been fulfilled, and it was somewhat invincible. Li Gingsheng. Is this too backhanded? Su Zixuan blurted out, muttering inwardly, is this the arrogant face of this guy that even the heavens can't stand? It's not luck, Jiang Ruoshi shook her head and said with a complex expression, or rather, it's Su Yi's dog that creates luck. Am I right, Su Yi? The plucking of the strings was something she had guessed, as she had truly observed it. Creating luck. Luck can also be created. Everyone looked at each other with the same expression. Their small eyes hidden big doubts. Sui, come over and explain the companion ability of the disaster dog, Xia Jingxing approached and said warmly. Yes, Sui approached in a proper manner, describing the abilities of the disaster dog without exaggeration or concealment. He doesn't need to conceal it either. As a student in the creation class, each person's mysterious beast must have all its information registered. At the same time, the two unlucky dogs merged into one. More precisely, it was the unlucky dog master who absorbed the clone, and countless granulations sprouted around its body, gradually eroding the clone clean. Everyone watched the eerie scene and listened to Su Yi's description, with goosebumps all over their bodies. Misfortune never comes singly. Eating fire, ominous omens. All three accompanying abilities are so powerful. Su Zixuan exclaimed, trembling with fear, is this really just a mediocre earth? I thought to myself, how could it also be top grade? Eating fire. Attribute restraint, is that what it means? Yan Zhao's eyes flickered with a hint of disapproval, still dissatisfied. However, the fire on the body of the burning lamp fox is a Zen fire, not an ordinary fire. I lost. Li Gingsheng still had some grievances in his heart, and after listening, he had to accept it. Of course, his mouth was still hard, but in 30 years, I will turn around. The others were also amazed. They were talking, more amazed by the power of the disaster dog, but did not mock Li Gingsheng much. Su Yi felt refreshed. He successfully suppressed the arrogant arrogance of the disguiser, and he also successfully disguised himself. Cough cough, what kind of disguise, the protagonists matter, can it be called disguise? That's called being a saint in front of someone. On his face, there was a calm expression of nothing and sprinkling water, with a harmless expression on his face. However, seeing Li Gingsheng, who was somewhat lonely, made me feel a bit guilty. He was only 16 years old, so he wanted to pretend. What crime did he have? Xia Jingxing didn't speak, but his thoughts were rampant. The more he pondered, the more his heart trembled. What is most needed in creation is an understanding of the rules. Even the mountain turtle is the first mystical beast of the Xia dynasty's destiny system. The mystical beast has just emerged, so there is no literature or information available. In other words, Su Yi's inspiration may only come from some simple introductions in the news. Find Shuyuan www.zhaoshuyuan.com, just reading some news, can we create the mysterious beast of the numerology system? I underestimated this kid. His talent is probably no less than that of Jiang Ruoxi and Lu Yiqing in the first class. However, Xia Jingxing was simply overthinking. No wonder he naturally did not know the existence of gods and monsters. It can only be said that Dihua is like gravity, all that needs to be done is a gentle push. Such talent, but with such a family background. Xia Jingxing felt a bit regretful and paused for a while, as if he had made some difficult decision. Forget it, isn't it just a little bit of a favor? I'll pull down my old face and recommend him to become a trainee at the Candlelight Group. Tonight, let's call Lao Jing first to ask. Thinking in her heart, Xia Jingxing stepped forward and said somewhat awkwardly, Su-yi, the box of the Great Chun is just out of stock. You have to bring this cursed dog with you tonight. You have memorized the code of conduct for the dark beast, haven't you forgotten it? You must strictly abide by it. The De Chun box, to put it simply, is a spirit ball used to store mysterious beasts. Not even preparing the box of the Great Chun is enough to indicate that Xia Jingxing did not have much hope for the remaining students to fabricate the mysterious beast. Su-yi naturally wouldn't delve deeper and nodded obediently, remember. Su-yi, to celebrate your passing of the assessment, I will treat you to dinner tonight. Yan Zhao's face was full of joy as he patted Su-yi lightly. There is a new Laurel restaurant near my house, and I have a discounted price. Su-yi's heart warmed. In his memory, Yan Zhao often invited people to eat, and in order to maintain his pitiful self-esteem, he had to rack his brains to come up with various excuses, with discounted prices being the most commonly used one. Chapter 7. Nothing that one barbecue cannot solve. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Okay. Su-yi nodded and said without hesitation. So straightforward, it left Yan Zhao stunned and gave him a deep glance at his long-time friend. Why did he suddenly change his personality? What he saw was a calm and confident face, calm and composed. Su-yi noticed something and secretly thought to himself, if it were Su-yi, who used to be young and energetic, I'm afraid he would have to refuse. But he is different. In Su-yi's view, mutual support among brothers is inherently necessary. Today I am in trouble and have received kindness. When I turn around, I will naturally give it my all in return. This is the brother. Of course, he can also understand his predecessor. The excessive self-esteem of the predecessor did not stem from arrogance, but rather from inferiority. In a life where both parents have died and the family's fortunes have declined. In a life where one can see the head at a glance, the only thing he can grasp tightly is probably his pitiful self-esteem. Su-yi felt deeply saddened and made up his mind. Not everyone has a chance to start over, and this life should be lived well. Yugui Restaurant. Upon hearing the 4 words, Yugui Restaurant, Li Gingxing's expression changed slightly, restoring his true image as a dog tycoon. He spoke confidently, don't argue with me. Since you're going to Yugui Restaurant, of course it's my treat. You. Su-yi was taken aback for a moment, thinking to himself that this kid still has some stomach. Even if he loses, he will be free and easy to deal with, without any small belly or chicken intestines. In fact, it should be like this. We are all classmates, how can we have any overnight grudges? Why, you can also offer a discount. Yan Zhao sneered casually. Discounts. Hey, I really can't make a deal, I can only get free. Li Gingxing shook his head and showed a look of disrespect. Laurel Restaurant is my family's business. Yan Zhao was momentarily stunned. Su-yi also twitched at the corner of his mouth. It's hard to defend against. In the end, he had to pretend to be, however, after all, they are patients and even take the initiative to invite guests, so Su-yi doesn't care about trivial matters and doesn't make much fuss. What? What disease are you asking about? Have you never heard of an incurable disease that often occurs in the middle and second stages of life, and if you don't dress up, you will die? A beautiful shadow walked towards Ran. Your disaster dog is very interesting, you can have a sparring when you have time. Jiang Ruoshi's tone was cold and he was eager to try. Su Yisan was amazed. Although the young girl in front of her has not yet grown, she has bright eyes and white teeth, like flowers and jade. Coupled with her skin that deceives frost and snow, she is like a beautiful embryo at the level of a disaster. Especially with a pair of big and bright eyes, it always reminds people of words like Yingying Qiu Shui and Shuang Tong Jian Shui. However, when literati and courtesans describe a girl's eyes, they always say they can speak, but the cold and aloof girl in front of them is definitely not familiar with her eyes. Even if she can speak, it should be the phrase, "What are you looking at?" There will be a chance, Su Yi chuckled and said half-jokingly, "I've admired your leading star Vine for a long time." Jiang Ruoshi was stunned and gave the other person a deep glance. Her surprise was certainly not due to Su Yi's teasing words. In Jiang Ruoshi's impression, the young man in front of him certainly had a good appearance, but in the past, no matter how he concealed it, he couldn't hide the deep-seated inferiority in aging. But this person in front of me is truly neither humble nor arrogant, calm and composed. A mysterious beast can make people change their nature. Jiang Ruoshi's eyes rolled, ready to make an exception and record the person in front of her in her own abnormal biology research register, which specifically records the habits of exotic animals. Laurel Restaurant. VIP Room. The fragrance wafts throughout the room, it is the clear fragrance of cumin. Su Yi, my dad is planning to give a 3-star rating for tires at this newly opened Laurel Restaurant. Li Gingsheng's mouth was full of oil and he snorted, "Are you here to eat skewers? It's too tasteless." Su Yi snatched a string of pork kidneys and looked contemptuous, "No taste. I didn't see you eat less." He was intentional. A certain Asian temperament dance king once said. In this world, there is no animosity that cannot be resolved by a barbecue meal. If there is, then it is only 2 meals. Moreover, Su Yi has always looked down upon high-end cuisine. In his opinion, those so-called star-rated hotels may not be able to enjoy themselves at the roadside stall strip the skewers. As for the sushi god and Tianfu Luo ferry next door, Su Yi sneered. The old man downstairs at my house has been repairing bicycles for his whole life. Why has he never seen anyone come to bow down and say, "See the bicycle ferry, Hey, how dare you treat me like this while eating my grilled skewers in my family's industry?" Li Gingsheng was furious when he saw the last string of pork kidneys fall into Su Yi's clutches. Believe it or not, it's pushing me, Su Yi and Yan Zhao thought this guy was going to say things like, shaking people, but after much deliberation, they only came up with one sentence. I'm AA. Li Gingsheng thought his words were very intimidating and proudly said, "Hurry up, say a few nice words. Who do you look down upon after just a meager grilled skewers?" Su Yi felt his self-esteem being insulted and stood up with a clap of his face. "Who are you threatening? Don't think that if you look handsome and have money, I will be threatened by you." "Well, that's good." Li Gingsheng grabbed a roasted butter and nodded in satisfaction. Yan Zhao's head was covered in black lines. Where has Jiko gone? Papa, the door was kicked open. A figure rushed in with great enthusiasm. The sudden change left all 3 of them stunned, with grilled skewers stuck in mid-air. "Sister, why did you come?" Li Gingsheng swallowed the roasted butter and looked puzzled as he saw the person coming. Su Yi's eyes lit up and he couldn't help but praise herself. Another beauty. Unlike Jiang Ruoshi's immature embryo, she has real red lips, white teeth, and a pink face with peach blossoms. She also has a curvaceous figure, especially her long legs, which are a pity not to step on 3 wheels, which really attract attention. How to describe her beauty specifically? Just because of Li Gingsheng's annoying behavior, Su Yi made up his mind when he saw the young girl. This brother. Law. Ah, my friend, he's made up his mind. Li Gingsheng, you are becoming more and more capable. The girl Xing widened her eyes and pointed at Li Gingsheng with her hips. How could you eat free food in your own shop? Who are you making friends with? Li Gingsheng's face couldn't hold back. He had the best face, but his own sister had let him down. He simply stopped calling her by name and said, Li Danya, you can scold me, hit me, or insult me, but you can't insult my classmates. Looking at Li Gingsheng, who spoke the most obstinate language in the most aggressive tone, Sui and Yan Zhao exchanged a glance and decided not to interfere with internal family conflicts. The experience of history tells us not to get involved in a battle that is bound to be defeated. If you want to become a successful person, I'm too lazy to talk about you. Li Danya snorted with a resentful expression on her face. Can you tell me how many resources our family has invested in you? It's just throwing them into the water and looking for the book garden www.zhaosuiyuan.com. You can still hear a sound. After eating so many resources, you've just made a predatory python. Shouldn't you be brave enough to work even harder? You still have free time to eat for free. She remembered another thing and said, also, I told you to get me another Xian beast. Where's the Xian beast? To create a mysterious beast, it depends on inspiration. Is it something that can be made if you want to? Li Gingsheng snorted and half complained, besides, sister, don't you have a Danqing falcon that is subordinate to the city god? Your primary task should be to sharpen the Danqing falcon to the perfection of the city god, and don't let the bear break the jade rice. Who are you saying is a bear? Li Danya's eyebrows furrowed. In the next moment, Sui and Yan Zhao felt that their trip was worth it. Not only did they fill their stomachs, but they also witnessed up close the killing technique of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. The cross-fixation. Do you agree? Li Danya grabbed her younger brother's wrist and clamped his legs around his neck. Li Gingsheng, I suddenly remembered that there was something urgent at home. Sui, a kind-hearted person, couldn't bear to watch Li Gingsheng fall into the fire pit, so he decided to turn his head and not look. Thank you for the barbecue. I'll treat you next time, and I'll definitely treat you next time. Yan Zhao also patted his forehead and suddenly realized, oh, I remember. My clothes were confiscated at home. Shameless. Looking at these two ungrateful guys, Li Gingsheng was very angry. His eyes rolled and he thought of a way to bring disaster to the east. Sister, these two are the people I invited to fabricate the mysterious beast for you. Li Danya hesitated for a moment and looked skeptical. They too. Don't look at them like this, one is the second in the class and the other is the fourth in the class, Li Gingsheng hurriedly said. So. What is it like? Sui and Yan Zhao exchanged glances, feeling as if they had been insulted. Chapter 8. Strategic Partners. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Second. Blind student Li Danya rolled her eyes and noticed Hua Jian. Second, isn't it you? As a qualified older sister, she naturally has a clear understanding of her younger brother's grades. Now it's not. Li Gong looked unhappy and pointed to Sui. However, this second position is just temporarily lent to him, and sooner or later I have to get it back. Who said you must be the third? Yan Zhao pondered and said displeased. Why, do you still want to compete? Li Gingsheng gave the other party a sidelong glance. Li Dan's elegant and beautiful eyes narrowed slightly, and a mischievous aura appeared on her pretty face. This kid is becoming increasingly useless. After all, Jiang Ruoshi is from the Jiang family. She can't even keep her second place, even though we recognize her by pinching her nose. She looked at Sui with hostility in her eyes. In a corner of the room, two shades of red gold shimmered brightly. Oh my feet. My feet are cramping. Li Danya let out a scream of surprise, released the strong man's cross lock, covered her pink sneakers, and screamed in pain. Sui was stunned and looked into the corner, his head tilted to one side, pretending to be an innocent dog. While unable to laugh or cry, he also understood the function of the great Chuanji box. "What are you doing in a daze?" Li Danya commanded his younger brother and shouted, "Come over quickly and help me knead." "Let you hit me, has the retribution come?" Li Gingsheng muttered, even when facing those straight long legs, his face was full of unwillingness and unwillingness. Sure enough, even the most beautiful sister is like a flower in the eyes of her younger brother. What is his mysterious beast? Surprisingly able to surpass the shadow python. Li Danya was so painful that tears were almost streaming down her face, still fulfilling her duties and not forgetting to inquire about the enemy's situation. "Here, look at that." Li Gingsheng wiped his hands first, then stepped forward and rubbed his feet, gesturing with his mouth, "Evil dog, fate is a mysterious beast." The numerology system. Li Danya's mouth slightly opened, surprisingly it was a mysterious beast of the numerology system. She was moved in her heart and quickly asked, "What are the companion powers?" Li Gingsheng turned his head and glanced at Sui, making a statement of inquiry. Sui nodded. After obtaining the other party's consent, Li Gingsheng briefly introduced and listed the accompanying abilities one by one. The more Li Danya listened, the brighter her eyes became. In the end, she had to admit that her younger brother had lost unjustly. "Your name is Sui." She rolled her eyes and smiled at Sui. "I want to hire you to fabricate a mysterious beast for me. Are you the Dragon Master?" Sui didn't agree rashly and asked first. "Huanlong Group, Class 4, 3 years, Li Danya." Li Danya reached out her hand and confidently introduced herself. "The Creation Group, Class 2 in 2 years, Sui." Of course, Sui couldn't be stingy and reached out to shake hands with the other party. Encountering the dragon hunter so quickly he sighed in his heart. The term Huanlong Shi is derived from the Huanlong Shi of the Shun era. It is said that there was a person named Dong Fu who was good at raising dragons and many dragons returned to him, so he was given the surname Huanlong by Shun. This title has been inherited. Huanlong Shi, to put it simply, is a beast tamer. After the emergence of the creator, the dragon-raising master did not decline, but instead became even more prosperous. In addition to various strange and bizarre phenomena, it is necessary for the dragon hunter to subdue them, and even the creator cannot do without the dragon hunter, just like in the West, 0 yuan purchases are not possible. The fundamental reason is that the mysterious beast can grow, but there are life constraints that cannot transcend its appearance. Taking disaster dogs as an example, by honing their abilities and refining their true spirits, they can achieve growth, but they can only leap from the middle level of the earth to the upper level, until the earth is perfect. No matter how it grows, it cannot cross the life class and break through from the earthly aspect to the city god aspect. However, once the appearance of the mysterious beast is complete and the creator has an epiphany in the rules, a reincarnation ceremony can be held in the cauldron of mending the heavens. Reincarnation is a more profound physical transformation than washing tendons and cutting marrow, and a more profound soul reorganization than enlightenment. It is equivalent to a recreation, which not only advances the mysterious beast but also has many benefits for the creator's understanding of rules. Creators can create many mysterious beasts, but their energy is limited and they cannot cultivate them all by their side. In this way, it is necessary for dragon-raising masters to take on the overflowing productivity. Sui is carrying a vast collection of supernatural creatures, and there is a severe overcapacity. He urgently needs strategic partners to digest the excess capacity. This one in front of me is not bad. Danya, what kind of mysterious beast do you want? He asked with a movement in his heart. My Danqing falcon is known for its changes, Li Danya said without hesitation, so I want a powerful Xian beast to make up for my shortcomings. Power type. Suyi's eyes rolled, and several images and shadows in his mind lit up one by one, then dimmed in an instant, and he couldn't help but frown. In his mind, of course, there is no shortage of powerful divine beasts. For example, Behemoth, the giant beast in the Bible, is said to have been created by the Lord with clay on the sixth day of Genesis, and is called Dut in Hebrew. It means animals, and there is also a quite loud name in the Chinese internet. Beman. But their rank is too far away from oneself. However, we don't have much else, we just have a lot of inventory. Suyi's eyes twitched a few times, and then counted the inventory in his stomach, which was already in his mind. What, do you have any ideas? Li Danya secretly observed the other party, surprised and wondering if this kid was still hiding his cards. Well, I can only say that there's a little bit of vague inspiration. Sui couldn't reveal his cards, so he pretended to ponder. When I come back from the secluded path, I can't say for sure. However, he pulled out a long tail sound, pinched his thumb and index finger, and made a twisting motion. Besides inspiration, I also need some motivation. Triple. Li Danya was wealthy and raised 3 fingers. I'll give you triple the materials. If you succeed within 3 attempts, all the excess materials will be discounted to you, and an additional reward of 50,000 yuan will be given. This condition is quite favorable. After all, Sui was only a sophomore in high school and only showed some potential, leaving a huge gap with a true creator. Not to mention Sui, Yan and Zhao on the side were all a bit tempted, but bearing in mind the ancient saying, the more beautiful a woman is, the more deceitful she is. They were afraid that their brothers would fall into the pit of fire and asked with caution, what if they all fail 3 times? Well, I don't need you to compensate anything, Li Danya shrugged and said lightly, but you owe me a favor. I can make a request for you. Isn't it any excessive demand? Yan Zhao was surprised and continued to ask. That's right, I only sell myself, not my skills, Sui agreed, speaking with righteousness. Yan Zhao and Li Gingsheng glanced at Sui, both trying to pretend not to know him. Don't worry, if you think your request is unreasonable, you can refuse it. Li Danya shrugged, his expression unchanged. However, the request will naturally continue to be postponed. Deal, Sui said. Li Danya nodded contentedly and immediately waved his hand to Shuyuan www.zhaoshuyuan.com, saying, Li Gingsheng, let the kitchen have another 20 strings of lamb, 3 strings of chicken wings, 3 strings of chicken feet, another garlic and eggplant, and a bottle of coconut juice. Humph, I didn't even eat rice just to come over and scold you. Hey, it's really difficult for you. Sister Li Gingsheng's mouth twitched and couldn't help but say, Sister, are you not afraid of gaining weight and losing your looks? Get lost. Li Danyahun didn't care, just like Sister said it's 0 credit, she also had her own theoretical system. They say that beauties come out of sleep, not from hunger. Since that's the case, give me some extra, Sui said immediately. Didn't you just say you were full? Li Gingsheng glanced at each other with a contemptuous expression on his face. Full is full, but how many people need to eat for the barbecue to have an atmosphere? How lonely is Danya eating alone? Sui remained calm and his heart didn't jump. I'll go all out today, sacrificing my life to accompany the beauty. Li Gingsheng's mouth twitched twice. Surprisingly speaking so passionately about eating free food and urging people to urinate, do you still want to nod your face? When Sui left, he felt refreshed. Apart from signing a big order, he also has a good impression of Li Danya. It's not because of her appearance, but because Sui likes this kind of gentle woman with a Lin Daiyu style. Which Lin Daiyu are you asking? Of course, it's the one that pulls out the hanging willows upside down. Just as Sui was thinking about it, he stomped on it and let out an sigh, falling straight into the mud. Fortunately, he protected his face in time, and his handsome appearance was preserved. Sui patted the dust on his body and turned his head to see a dog face that pretended to be innocent. Disaster fighting is a dog of disaster, an ominous dog. He smiled bitterly and muttered in his heart, "Isn't this disaster dog also a master of 8 characters?" Chapter 9. The Great World. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. Get home. Sui turned on the light and looked around, feeling empty and desolate except for himself. He couldn't help but sigh. Actually, the home environment is not bad. Although I don't have money, I'm far from being a destitute family, and my predecessor was diligent in cleaning. The room was neat and odorless. However, without the chatter of elders and no one leaving a lamp in the late night, it is ultimately somewhat desolate. Why, do you want to look up at the sky at an angle of 45 degrees or what? A big old man, what's playing with literature that hurts spring and autumn? Sui patted himself and redefined his life goals. I want to make money now. He tidied up his emotions, opened the computer, and flipped through the materials sent by the class teacher. Regarding the secluded path. In fact, in order to introduce the secluded path, the class has specially set up a class. However, Sui got on the bus halfway and had never attended that class before. He could only start a small stove and hold a Buddha's foot temporarily, hoping that the Buddha wouldn't kick him. Fortunately, the secluded path is the lowest level of the 9th level cave, and most of the hibernating exotic beasts are also gentle, with a relatively low level of danger. Of course, the information still needs to be reviewed. Dong Tian, also known as Secret Realm, Divine Hidden Realm, Holy Realm, Small Thousand Worlds, etc., can best be described as fragments of the world or projections of the world. The MKV file opens, and Xia Jingxing's familiar voice rings. Fragments of the world. Sui chewed on the underlying meaning, pondering. The world we are in, or can be called the Great Thousand World, encompasses a wide range of things, including countless rules of all sizes, and is complex and varied. On the other hand, Dong Tian is often based on one or several core rules, forming its own world. For example, the core rule of Tongyu Trail is speculated to be maze. Sui focused on attending online classes and also reflected on it. No wonder creators have to go to the cave to experience. This small world is obviously more suitable for understanding the rules. He vaguely looked forward to it. Next, Xia Jingxing introduces the secluded path, which covers every detail. The core of the secluded path is thousands of crossroads, with 3 steps leading to a fork and 5 steps leading to a cross. It is like a mustard seed carrying a grain of rice, boundless and boundless. You can keep walking along the road, but you will never reach the end. However, since it's a maze, there must be an exit, but so far no one has found it. There is a saying that the exit of the secluded path is a place called Yuhuang, which houses natural resources and treasures. Yuhuang. Tian Kai Dibao. Sui was tempted and thought to himself, since it's a maze, it's definitely impossible to rely on brute force to crack it. We need to find the rules. However, the rules of the secluded path are like the belly button eyes of a yellow flower girl, everyone knows they exist, but no one has ever seen them. If it were really so easy to find, could all the seniors in the creation class who wished they could scrape 3 feet off the ground still return without success? Never mind, calm your mind. Don't think too much, let it be a trial and error. Sui shook his head, calmed his mind, and continued listening. This time, it's about various strange beasts on the winding path. But as he listened, he couldn't help but be too wandering and fantasizing. The word Dong Tian always reminds people of Dong Tian blessed land, the dwelling place of immortals, the towering trees that connect to the sky, the flying clouds that cross the river, the white crane bowing to guests, and the immortal caressing the top. A bigger world is about to emerge before me. Big World Foot Wash City. Suyi's mouth twitched and he couldn't speak for a long time. Except for Jiang Ruoshi, who still maintains the image of a cold fairy with no ripples on her face, everyone else has a disillusioned and disheartened expression. Old class, Yan Zhao couldn't help but ask, shouldn't this cave be-all in famous mountains and rivers. He is a good student and has a good relationship with the teachers, so he acts as a mouthpiece for everyone. Everyone looked together at Xia Jingxing. Besides Xia Jingxing, there are two teachers from the creation class, Gu Yanran, who teaches exotic creatures, and Lu Li, who teaches rule construction. Gu Yanran is a newly graduated beauty with glasses. Her hair is as curly as a waterfall, not only beautiful in appearance, but also outstanding in figure. At first glance, she has the ability to accommodate people, with a broad mind and a big face. Some good people mutter privately that the name Xian Ran is more appropriate than Yen Ran. Lu Li is an elderly person. Strangely enough, he appears to be an old scholar on the outside, but he is not at all pedantic. He never reads his lectures or even reads them, but speaks whatever he wants. In Lu Li's class, he taught the books of He Tu Luo, the 9 palaces and 8 trigrams, how to break down characters, how to understand geography, as well as Western astrological symbols and the rune of Luen. Even, he has taught the dismantling movements of the 8th set of radio gymnastics. The students once suspected that this guy was not an old scammer, coming to deceive and steal from these inexperienced comrades. However, later many people discovered that even the principal had great respect for this person, and they speculated that this was not the sweeping monk in Mianyang Middle School. Some people have tried to establish a good relationship with the sweeping monk, but no one has been able to unlock unique secrets such as the Gi Jin Jing and Dugu Jujian, so their hearts have become indifferent and they only treat them as ordinary teachers. The two teachers also looked at Xia Jingxing. Especially Gu Yanran, with a hint of embarrassment in her eyes, wanting to see how the homeroom teacher would answer. Heaven has its own laws, and it does not depend on human will. Who said it must be in famous mountains and rivers? The art of language Sui gave a thumbs up in his heart and said, "It's truly an old class." With this explanation, the level has risen in just one go. Using blind dates as an analogy, if you dislike a blind date who doesn't have money, you can't just say they don't have money, you have to say they don't have ambition. Disliking the blind date for eating lotus root cannot be said to be true, but rather a lack of eye contact. However, no amount of embellishment can change the reality of a cave appearing in the foot-washing city. Teacher, when will the secluded path be opened? Jiang Ruoshi asked, and there were no waves on her face, but she clearly had some itching and couldn't wait. Xia Jingxing looked at his watch and suddenly felt a bit embarrassed. "Mr. Lu, what time is it already?" "From 9 to 11 o'clock. Lu Li didn't speak, but Gu Yanran answered first. Yes, Lu Li gave the girl a approving glance and exclaimed with emotion, "There are not many young people who can still understand the time. It's 8:30 now, there's still half an hour left." Xia Jingxing looked up and said in a loud voice, "Is there anyone else who has a problem? If there is a problem, please ask the Shuyuan website www.zhaoshuyuan.com to bring it up outside first." "Yes," Li Gingsheng raised his hand high. "You say," Xia Jingxing frowned slightly and didn't want to answer. The expression on that thug's face gave him a sense of foreboding. "Teacher Xia, since there is still half an hour left, can you wash your feet first? Let me open the foot world." Li Gingsheng tentatively asked. "What do you say?" Xia Jingxing narrowed her eyes. "Not even self-funded. Get lost." "Teacher, how do we get in?" As a good student, Sui timely spoke up and pulled the topic back before the art style turned to pink memories. Xia Jingxing suddenly remembered the matter and gave Li Gingsheng a glare before starting to make a phone call. Not long after, one person sneaked out. On a hot day, he was dressed in a fisherman's hat, sunglasses, and a scarf to shield his face, tightly wrapped around his body. "Is that Teacher Xia?" said the person. Xia Jingxing nodded and said, "It's me, Xia Jingxing. Please come with me." The person waved and instructed the others, classmates and teachers, "Please don't look around or make any noise after entering." How did it make it look like a spy joint? Sui roast in his heart. Most students have a similar idea, with strange expressions. I'm sorry," the person apologized after seeing everyone's expressions and clasped their hands together. "Mainly for others to see, it's not a good impact." "Is the impact not good?" When the students heard this, their mouths twitched. Where are the students in our creation class who are not being held up and worshipped, yet they are sometimes despised by others? Besides, the other party is still a foot-washing city. Chapter 10. The Box of the Great Chinese Toon. You are listening at novelfull.audio. In a big world, there is a small side hall. After all, it is a partial hall with a limited area. More than 40 teachers and students are crowded together, which is described by the canned sardine in Fortress Besieged. I'm afraid it is not inconsistent. There's still some time, you can move freely, but don't make any noise. Xia Jingxing looked around and gave the order. When everyone heard the instructions from the old class, they were all speechless. With only so little space, stretching lazily is afraid of harming innocent people. How can they move freely? However, as the cave is about to open, they are either nervous or excited, so they don't have time to pay attention to those details. Being idle is also being idle. Sui simply closed his eyes and pretended to close them to rest his mind. In the depths of consciousness, the vast volume of gods and monsters slowly unfolded, and a violent image was about to emerge. That is a golden-haired lion with angry eyes and a scattered mane like fire. It steps on the mountains and howls for 9 days, as if it can fight against elephants and dragons, swallowing chi for thousands of miles. This is the divine beast template prepared for Lidanya. As the saying goes, reading a book 100 times reveals its meaning to oneself. The mind is full of gods and monsters, and if one observes and comprehends them frequently, they can also gain something unconsciously. And Sui has always acted fairly, sharing both rain and dew. Of course, he would not spoil this one alone. He also observed his 6 brothers and even his ancestor, who was eager to move. The way of creating things is to take each step by step, gradually progressing. First, grasp the small ones, and when the time comes, create the old ones. Do not have high expectations but low skills. Feeling a bit drifting, Sui rubbed her eyebrows and reflected on herself 3 times. If one day I can fabricate this ancestor, I'm afraid I'll be a giant in the realm of creation. He smiled. In the crowd, Jiang Ruoshi glanced at Sui and pondered, after all this time, have you not forgotten to meditate and nourish your soul? I'm actually diligent. 50. 3 teachers acted together and distributed a square jade seal. Take it. Yan Zhao took 2 and gave 1 to Sui. Sui carefully examined, only feeling that his hand was warm and moist, with a hidden green light swirling deep in the seal, and couldn't help but marvel at it. He suddenly hugged the Buddha's foot and naturally knew that this was a spiritual tool called Wenji, which, in short, was a pass to the cave. The secluded path has 3 dangers, you know. Yan Zhao did not forget to remind. Don't worry, I turned on the small stove last night. Sui smiled and pointed to his head. It's all here. The so-called 3 dangers refer to 3 dangerous places in a secluded path that need to be kept at a distance. This is just like the 3 rural tyrants, a simple experience summarized by the vast majority of the people in long-term practice. 902. The cave does not open on time. Undoubtedly, it is a cave, and the opening time also allows me to fly freely, as I please. Of course, at this point, no one cares about those minor details anymore. In the center of the room, in the void, a 7-color vortex blooms. Summon the Xian beast first, and then go in with it. Xia Jingxing's expression was serious, seeming more nervous than the students. I have already mentioned the precautions, and if I repeat them again, you will find me verbose. But I have to say it again. If there is anything wrong, there are 30.6 strategies. Walk up. The students have listened too many times and have learned to answer quickly. Who comes first? Gu Yanran helped her glasses and smiled brightly. Me, Jiang Ruoshi stood firm and raised her hand. Li Gingsheng put down his hand that was raised halfway and secretly felt depressed. How could the hand speed of this 16-year single woman not match that of a weak woman? Lead the star vine, come out. Jiang Ruoshi raised her right hand, and the large box of the Chinese Toon on her wrist lit up with faint ripples of light. Then, countless entangled vines rose up from the ground, entwined in a humanoid posture, and a pair of emerald green eyes opened deep within the vines. What is even more striking is that among its lush branches and leaves, there is a star hanging suspended, rotating around its body, rising and falling in the east and west, repeating the cycle. Accompanied by supernatural powers. Yi Yong Morning Star. Su Yi's heart moved and he secretly exclaimed in surprise. Qianqingting only has one ability, but this one ability makes Jiang Ruoshi firmly at the top of the second class, and he shares the advantage with the so-called genius Lu Yiqing, which shows his strength. The morning star is magnificent and beautiful, but it hides hidden dangers. This seems to be an infinitely compressed, extremely condensed true star, incredibly hard and unimaginably heavy, described as indestructible. The attack method is simple and crude. Let's put it this way, you can just treat it as a brick with tracking function. However, the mysterious beast of the Earth's appearance has never been able to withstand this brick without collapsing. Sui focused his gaze on the morning star, only to see the void collapsing around it, giving rise to countless spiral-like fine lines. Could it be? He felt a movement in his heart, rubbed his chin, and had some idea of its rules. But before he could verify, the figures of Jiang Ruoshi and Qianqingting had been engulfed by the vortex. The three teachers guided in an orderly manner, and one by one, the big chests of Chinese Toons gradually lit up. The mysterious beasts appeared and disappeared with the students. Leave Su Yi with an innocent expression. Su Yi, what are you waiting for? Why don't you go in quickly? Gu Yanran was puzzled, and her eyebrows furrowed slightly. He doesn't have a big Chinese Toon box, Xia Jingxing remembered and took out a brand new big Chinese Toon box. Su Yi, engrave the disaster dog into the big Chinese Toon box. Yes, Su Yi quickly took it. Since we need to engrave it, why wait until now? Lu Li couldn't help but frown and ask in confusion, why didn't we engrave it just while we were waiting? Su Yi glanced at the homeroom teacher, waiting for him to explain his good intentions or lofty reasons like, not for Yao's survival, not for Jie's downfall. Hey, unexpectedly, Xia Jingxing let out a smirk, I forgot. Silence is tonight's Cambridge. Su Yi looked sorrowful. Cough cough, don't worry, it's not short of a few minutes. Xia Jingxing coughed and changed the topic, then handed over a uniquely constructed golden needle. How do you use it? You should know, right? I know. Su Yi nodded and glanced at the box of the big Chinese Toon. The Lingqi Dachuan box is a wooden bracelet made from the branch of the mythological giant tree Dachuan. It is carved with Dan Shuyun seal script and intertwined with mountains, rivers, wind, and moon, concealing a mysterious meaning of painting in poetry, painting in poetry. The bracelet is divided into 12 grids, each engraved with 12 earthly branches, namely Zi, Chou, Yin, Mao, Chen, Si, Wu, Wei, Shen, Yu, Su, and Hai. 12 squares, enough to accommodate 12 mysterious beasts. Su Yi turned the bracelet, carefully placing the Su grid upwards, lifting the lid between the grids to reveal a small box. Lu Li looked at this scene with some surprise and gave Su Yi a deep glance. There are probably even fewer young people who understand this, he whispered to himself. Disaster dog, don't resist, it will happen soon. Su Yi comforted her and the golden needle pricked the dog's paw. The structure of the golden needle is special. Despite its small size, it has a bleeding groove at the tip and a hollow body that can store blood. It immediately sucks out a drop of crimson blood from the unlucky dog. Sui took a deep breath and carefully dripped the blood into Su Gu. Blood dripped in and hovered in mid-air in the grid. Sui had anticipated and, as expected, closed the lid. Buzzing, the disaster dog turned into a stream of light and threw itself into the Su grid. Don't look, summon it again quickly. Without waiting for Sui to observe more, Xia Jingxing urged, go in quickly, don't delay anymore. Yes. Sui also knew that time was tight and waited for it to cool down, immediately summoning again. After Sui disappeared into the vortex, Xia Jingxing went to the book garden www.zhaozuiyuan.com and took out a jade plate. The jade plate emitted light in a secluded manner, with light curtains outlining the void and real-time playback of each person's images, forming a huge TV wall. The function of the document is not only to provide a pass, but also to record images and transmit them back to this jade plate. In this way, teachers can understand the situation clearly, there is really danger, and they can also remotely stimulate the text to timely drag the students back. Lu Li stared at the light curtain, half muttering to himself, I don't know if anyone can reach Yu Huang this time. Yu Huang. Xia Jingxing was puzzled for a moment, I thought it was just a legend used to stimulate children's curiosity. Lu Li shook his head and said, no one has arrived all year round, so it has become a legend. But as far as I know, not only does the bamboo grove exist, but there is also a rootless bamboo growing inside. Rootless bamboo. Gu Yanran was shocked and lost her voice. Rootless bamboo, known as useless use, only then can it be used greatly. Lu Li nodded. Gu Yanran breathed heavily and had a drooling expression on her face. For the vast majority of people, rootless bamboo is useless and cannot be used as a material for any spiritual weapon or mysterious beast. But for creators, its value is immeasurable. Rootless bamboo has the characteristic of manifesting thousands and interpreting everything. On its bamboo body, countless patterns will randomly appear, and these patterns are all some kind of regular mapping. With or without a bamboo at hand, the daily journey of the creator can naturally lead to the rise of the boat. If anyone could reach it, it would probably only be Jiang, Gu Yanran said with some envy. Jiang Ruoshi should have a spiritual tool called straight hook for 1,000 feet, fishing for real dragons that can be taken directly from her body. I think, Xia Jingxing said thoughtfully, but coldly, there's still someone who might be able to arrive.